ended up re-educated, drugged until their minds broke. So, to answer your question, no, I don't think about it much at all.
The word Qunari, is that the race or the religion?
Both. Kind of. The humans and elves who follow the cube are the Vidathari. The Qunari who break away from the cube are Talvasha, deserters.
What about Qunari who existed before the cube?
The people we came from. They're called the Kossith, but we don't use that word for the race. We came south to Thedas because the Kossith were... I don't know. We had to leave. The stories aren't clear. But I don't expect they look much like us. Whatever they are.
See you
Interesting.
See ya.
Now then, I've seen kings on lesser mounts than yours. Magnificent barding.
How are your chargers? Well supplied?
Haven is groaning under the weight. It wasn't built for this, but we'll make it serve.
Heard anything worth noting?
Heard rumors of something stomping around out there. No idea how to track it if it is even a real thing. Keep up with your researcher and your creatures, Inquisition. Who knows what you can find?
Farewell.
May it be with you. That'll do fine.
Smithing is hot work. Here. A drink.
Make her look at it. So much easier to ignore when it's far away. And to actually walk out of it. To be that close.
If I hadn't been saved by Inquisition soldiers, I don't know what would have happened.
Inquisition soldiers? That's not what I've heard. The Breach, the Divine's death, the Wardens. It doesn't make sense. There's so much we don't know.
Your experience with the Wardens will certainly be useful.
Mostly the treaties, I expect. Old parchments you're welcome to. What about you? How do you fit into all this?
I just want to help stop the war. Try to put things back in order.
A worthy goal, one I'm happy to support. For me, I'll be satisfied so long as we find the bastards that killed the Divine. They owe us some answers.
All right. And we got Krem too. Okay.
What can I do for you?
I'd like to know more about the Iron Bull.
The chief. Last time I met him, he saved my life. I never thought I'd work for Qunari, but he grows on you. He's not like any commander I've ever worked for. That's for damn sure.
How's Iron Bull as a commander?
If you know what you're doing and hold up your end, he's easy. He doesn't accept any less. If he keeps us alive, he leads from the front, and if you've an idea that'll win the fight, he listens. I've seen bands whose captains had to prove they were swinging the biggest sword. Bull isn't like that. The charges might give him more lip than you'd expect, but every one of us would lay down our lives for the big ass.
Is it strange to work for a Qunari?
He hasn't tried to convert us to the Qun, if that's what you're asking. The Bull's charges don't care who you light a candle for, so long as your shield stays up. If he hadn't told me he was Ben Hasrath, I'd have thought he'd left that life behind.
I didn't expect he'd tell you all that he was a spy.
Not the whole band, but those who've been around long enough to trust. He figures most of us would find out sooner or later, and it should come from him. Eyes to eye, he says. He's never messed up a job. He just writes letters back home. Lots of the boys write letters back home.
How did a Tevinter soldier wind up in a Qunari spy's mercenary company?
I wasn't a soldier at the time. I was in some trouble, trying to flee to Winter. A Tribune and his men caught me in a Watertown tavern. They meant to make an example of me. Bull killed them. Gave up his eye doing it. Patched me up and asked if I was looking for work. I've been putting up with his jokes ever since.
That's how he lost the eye?
Yes. The guards had me on the tavern floor when Bull came inside and yelled for them to stop. One of them saw trouble coming and figured he'd finish me off. The guard had a flare. Bull put himself between me and the blow. Big old idiot. Didn't even know me.
We'll talk later.
What can I do for you?
I'd like to know more about your work with the Ben Hasrath.
Ben Hasrath is actually a general term. You've got the secret police who investigate problems inside our territory. You've got the re-educators who take people with problems and fix their minds. Or make them disappear. And then you've got the spies.
Whoa,
How
what?
do the re-educators work?
I only know the basics. Wasn't my area. That said, keep a man awake long enough. Ask the right questions, give the right potions, and you can get him to say anything. You don't need blood magic or demons to change someone's mind. We're a lot more fragile than we like to believe.
The re-educators sound horrible.
Yeah, they probably do. Here's the thing, though. What happens in Orlais when you commit a crime, betray a lord? They just lop your head off. At least the Qunari try to fix you.
You can alter someone's beliefs that easily?
One of my friends was a re-educator. He said that every memory is like the page of a book. When you examine a memory, you're turning to that page, and when you're there, the page is laid bare. Write a few notes in the margins of the page, erase a word here and there, and your whole outlook changes. Always felt a little weird reading after that conversation.
None of those sound exactly like you.
Yeah, I was a special case. They sent me to Saharan because they needed someone who could fight and hunt down problems. That whole island was a sack of cats. Incursions from Tevinter, Tal Vashath, and native rebels fighting both sides. And in the middle, me, trying to wrangle the rebels and restore order.
How'd that work out for you?
About as well as you'd expect. I hunted down a lot of rebels. Lost a lot of friends to the Vince, the Fog Warriors, or the Tal Vashath. One day I woke up and couldn't think of a damned reason to keep doing my job. Turned myself into the re-educators.
You'd heard what the re-educators did to their prisoners.
Yes, I had. I wanted them to fix me like they fixed them. The Ben Hasrath ordered me to go to Orlais, ostensibly as a Tal Vashath, work undercover. That's how I ended up here.
It sounds like you had a rough life under the Q.
What, 3 meals a day and free sex whenever I need it? I came out here for the challenge, boss. Figured I'd rough it with you savages. Anyway, nice talking with you.
Yes.
I have some more questions.
Why am I not surprised?
Tell me about your brother.
I would prefer not to speak of Anthony. Another time, perhaps.
I'll let you get back to work.
Greetings.
Can you tell me more about the Seekers?
The Seekers of Truth were born from the original Inquisition long ago, when it united with the Chantry. Seekers stood above the Templars, watching over them but also investigating magical events they couldn't handle. We were meant to be incorruptible, above reproach. How seldom does reality match the ideal?
What are Seekers, exactly?
Those who know anything of us think we are Templars. We do not use lyrium, however. Our abilities are different, as was our original purpose. We disciplined the Templars and were accountable only to the Divine, and not even her, truthfully.
So, the Seekers commanded the Templars?
No, the Order didn't assume command until after the rebellion. The Templars have always feared us. When a Seeker arrived at a circle, they knew trouble was afoot. That kind of power is troubling. You begin to think you are the only one who can solve the world's problems. If you don't see a problem, it doesn't exist. If someone insists it does, they are the blind ones.
Do you think that kind of problem could ever be fixed?
Possibly. Though the Seekers themselves would need to change. They were clearly not willing to, even though they abandoned everything they stood for to avoid it. In my heart, I believe they can still be salvaged, but not by their own hands.
You mentioned that Seekers have different abilities than Templars.
Entirely. A Templar's abilities come from lyrium and are designed to hunt mages. Ours come from ritual and many years of dedicated training. We cannot be possessed by demons and are immune to mind control. Useful considering our role. Seekers can gain other gifts, though that depends on the individual.
What kind of gifts do you have?
I can set the lyrium within a person's blood aflame. Both mages and Templars bend before my will. Some Seekers use it to interrogate, others simply to paralyze. Once there was a Seeker who could use it to kill. That particular gift is considered rare.
Why did your order turn against the Chantry?
We originally united with the Chantry through a treaty that stated they would keep mages under control. It was felt most holy and tacitly allowed the Circle of Magi to vote on its independence, thus breaking the treaty. The Seekers saw themselves as justified, and they led the Templars into a war of righteousness.
You sound like you disagree.
We knew what was happening at Kirkwall, where the Mage Rebellion began. We looked into reports of Knight Commander Meredith's harsh treatment of her charges years earlier. But we found so many shocking cases of magical corruption, it was decided her actions were justified. If we'd been there when it happened, if we'd looked harder at the root causes...
You seem to care a great deal about it.
Too much, if you ask the rest of my order. When faced with a problem, the Seekers would close ranks and crush it. We would find an answer, but only once we felt we weren't being coerced. The moment the mages voted for independence, our response was predictable. It was difficult to watch.
How does someone become a Seeker?
Most Seekers begin training in their youth. I was much older, an exception due to my noble birth. We train rigorously for years. Our bodies and minds must be elastic to undergo the vigil, and most fail even then.
Is the Vigil some kind of initiation?
It is the rite every Seeker must go through in order to summon their gifts. A full year of fasting, prayer, and separation from all distractions, including other people. We empty ourselves of all emotion, focusing only on the purity of our devotion. And the moment it finally ends, it's wonderful. Faith realized. I cannot put it into words.
I wish I could experience that.
If the vigil was not so arduous, I'd say more should attempt it. What if mages never needed to fear possession by demons? I'm told it is impossible, however. I suppose I'll never know the truth of it now.
I've no more questions.
That's enough.
Greetings.
I have some more questions.
Why am I not surprised?
Tell me about your brother.
I would prefer not to speak of Anthony. Another time, perhaps.
I'll let you get back to work.
Greetings.
May I ask you about the Chantry?
It is difficult to say what becomes of the Chantry now. They have no Templars, no leadership, and no one left who is worthy of succeeding the Divine. It has fallen apart when everyone needs it the most. I ache to think what this will mean in the days to come.
Do you really believe the Chantry is worth preserving?
If you ask my opinion, it is. Absolutely. Cast the Chantry aside and new problems replace old ones. We will have learned nothing from history. The people need stability, and the Chantry needs a new purpose. Andraste had a dream for us. It can still be achieved.
Alright, alright.
So what should that new purpose be?
A dedication to what is truly important. Instead of building cathedrals and sewing gowns for the Divine, the Chantry used to spend its coin feeding the poor. If we are to spread the Maker's word across the world, we must do so with open hearts and open hands.
Will the Chantry replace Divine Justinia?
They will try. Once the priests withdraw for the Grand Consensus, it is against Chantry law for them to emerge without naming a new Divine. Sometimes it takes days, or weeks, or even months. The problem now is that no clear successor to Justinia exists. All worthy clerics died with her at the Conclave.
So what happens if they can't agree on something?
Theoretically, they will argue until exhaustion takes them or they see reason. Practically, however, if the Grand Consensus goes on too long, the Chantry will crumble. Any cleric with ambition but little sense will see this as her one chance, and plenty of such clerics exist. We shall see what happens. The Inquisition must act in the meantime.
If they do choose a new Divine, will you serve her?
That depends on whether she would have me. I am a rebel now, remember? And even if she would, I do not know. It would depend on what type of Divine she is. I am no longer in a position to follow blindly, and no new Divine could expect such obedience now.
What influence does Chancellor Roderick really wield?
He's a bureaucrat, responsible for communicating the Divine's will to the rest of the Chantry. Therefore, he's accustomed to the clerics hanging on his every word, hoping his influence will benefit them. Despite that, Roderick is not a bad man. He's frightened, and believes his place is to fill the gap left by Most Holy's death. Some might agree. As far down the chain of command as he is, there is no one left above him.
How big a problem could he be?
No more than he is already. He sent his message to the College of Clerics. That is the only card he had to play. Dealing with him further only lends him credibility he doesn't deserve.
I'm surprised you rebelled against the Chantry.
I left my own order when they took the wrong path. It is no different. But in neither case did I stop caring. Indeed, I care so much that I feel drastic action is necessary. I suppose history shall one day judge my actions.
Thank you.
Cool.
Is there something you need?
As there is one life, one death, there is both.
Is there anything I should know?
The Lord Seeker's actions are a mystery. The Templars will aid us. They cannot sit idle while the breach remains.
I should get to know you better. We're working together after all.
What would you like to know?
All right. Where are you from?
I don't know why I got this by asking where Cullen's from, but
I grew up in Ferelden near Hong Kong. I was transferred to Kirkwall shortly after the Blight. This is the first I've returned in almost 10 years.
You haven't seen Ferelden in 10 years. Are you glad to be back?
I was not sorry to leave at the time. I did not expect to return. Now, between the Divine's murder and the breach, I've arrived to find nothing but chaos.
Varric's from Kirkwall. Did you two know each other?
I knew he was friends with the champion of Kirkwall, but little else. We've spoken more since I joined the Inquisition, largely at Varric's insistence. Apparently, I spend too much time with a serious expression on my face, and it's bad for my health.
You were in Ferelden during the Blight. Did you fight Darkspawn?
No. I was stationed in Ferelden's Circle Tower. The Circle had troubles of its own. I remained there during the Blight.
What happened at the Circle Tower?
You who survived the Blight have fond memories of that time. I would prefer not to speak.
What was Kirkwall like?
While I was there, Qunari occupied and then attacked the city. The Viscount's murder caused political unrest. Relations between mages and Templars fell apart. An apostate did up the Chantry, and the Knight Commander went mad. Other than that, it was fine.
I'll let you return to your work.
Should you require anything, I'll be here. Here, tell Mother Giselle this is as much as I can spare. Need something?
Can I ask you something, Varric?
You want to talk about me? I'm flattered. Also inclined toward extravagant lies.
Thanks, Varric.
No problem.
Nothing new for Varric, huh?
You're in charge of Vivienne as well. She remains loyal.
Yes?
These truths
I
that
don't
make
know
us
if
reveal
Apothecary Don can get that many human drafts through the...
Cedric should have that for you soon.
There is but one God, and he is our maker.
What may I do for you?
What do the people make of us?
We've gathered many favors among the nobility. They will be gently reminded of this.
Any thoughts on the people here?
Who did you mean?
What do you think of Sir Blackwall?
Sir Blackwall seems as loyal to the purpose of the Inquisition as he is to the Wardens. His travels must have taken him strange places. I wish he'd speak more about them.
What do you think of Vivienne?
We've met a few times before at court. She remains a truly accomplished player of the game. So long as her interests align with yours, Madame Vivienne will be a most valuable ally.
The Iron Bull has had to have made an impression.
He is a loud, unapologetic accident merely waiting to happen. I do wish he'd stop daring poor dignitaries to outdrink him.
I'd love to know how you and Sarah get along.
I know she extracts gossip from the servants, and she keeps prying into things. Sarah's ability to vanish whenever her mischief's discovered must come in handy, however, I'm sure.
I was thinking of Varric.
Oh, I could listen to his tales for hours. He actually let me read a chapter of his next book he's writing. My friends would be sick with envy if they knew. It's excellent, but a bit different from his past works. Only 3 beheadings so far.
Let's speak later.
Goodbye.
Hello? Can I help you with something?
I think I've already had this conversation, chat.
Safely.
You had granted them power over the very Fade itself.
We are garnering interest from the capital.
You're not pleased?
I am not convinced we are prepared for the full scrutiny of Val Royeaux.
Court of Andraste. The Cult of Andraste, chat. It's incredible how many passages remained undiscovered even after the Chantry's arrival. They scoured every inch of these mountains for years in search of anything related to the sacred ashes. The cult didn't build all of this. It was here long before. Who knows how many years it would take to find it all. Of the new passages uncovered during the search, most were long, empty, or contained goods far beyond salvage. A few, however, yielded some artifacts of interest, and one evidently contains strange runes we have yet to translate. If we can find someone capable of doing so, they might prove useful. Okay. Needs bees. Red Jenny Inquisition needs bees. We have received weapon plans and located an apiary to supply us. When the idea was presented, the beekeeper tented his fingers and sneered, "Of course!" Quite disturbing. Okay, so yeah. Improved stability. The Inquisitor's efforts to close the Fade Rifts has increased stability in various regions across Thedas. However, demons sometimes remain, having wandered from the site of the original rifts. The Inquisition has received numerous requests for aid in dealing with this problem.
Let us begin.
The Secrets of Andraste. The runes discovered in the mountain passage during the recent search are of a type never seen before, neither to Vinter nor Elven, and perhaps dating back to the time of Andraste herself, where there are few who might be able to translate the script, and the benefit of doing so is unknown. Well,
let's see what we have.
we're still gonna, you know. Chant remains. The confrontation with Mother Havara and Val Royeaux mark